Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we're going back.
We're going way back.
And we're doing something we haven't done for a while. And that is looking at some Ozito stuff. I know I got a lot of people that follow the channel, have been with the channel for a long time because of Ozito stuff. A lot of the stuff, not a lot of stuff, a lot of the stuff was sent out to me to Ozito for the purpose of review. So I picked it up for free, etc. Did the review. Now I did have a heap of Ozito stuff before that, and that's how YouTube kind of works. You go out, you spend your own money, you buy these things, you do the reviews. Started off doing the reviews on just what I had, did the pole, pruner, etc. Did a number of different Ozito tools, and then Ozito paid attention and went, hey, you've done a few reviews, how about we send you some more stuff and you can do some more reviews? And of course you go, yeah, absolutely. Now that relationship ended when the young lady that I was dealing with, who was in marketing, left, and haven't had any interaction with Ozito since. But the reason we're doing this today is because my yard has been neglected for some time and I need to get back into it and I need to tidy it up. And one of the things I like to do is keep a really nice edge on the grass. I would normally just use the Petrol whipper snipper, and I would go around and do the whipper snipping and do the edging using that as well. But as Petrol trimmers are inclined to do, it's getting harder and harder to start.
This does this to me pretty well every time.
And I'm less inclined to go out and do it. So I've been in the market for an edger so I can get back around and do the edges and tie the yard up. Just makes it look completely different. And I was thinking about having a look at the Ozito one. So I went down to Bunnings to buy some other stuff to get some silicone so I could seal up the caravan. They had the edger there, skin only, for 179 bucks. I went down, I had a look at it, and I walked past. I said, look, no, I don't need to spend an extra 180 bucks today. I just don't. Went back, grabbed my silicone, and as I was walking out, as Bunnings is known to do, they've got a heap of Ozito stuff out there, and this is the kit. So this kit comes with the battery, it comes with the charger. I've already got 3 or 4 chargers in there, and it also comes with the blower in addition to the edger. This was 250 bucks. So for an extra 70 odd dollars, I picked up a 4 amp hour battery, another charger, and the blower, which I was considering getting down the track anyway. We'll open it up and see what's in the kit. Now this review is going to be done on the kit itself rather than doing the individual tools. So the hedger itself is worth spending some time with and talking to you about, but that blower ultimately just blows air. It either does or it doesn't, so it probably doesn't warrant a video on its own. And I've already got batteries on charge. We'll stick this one on charge. I'll grab another one from in there and we'll run around and we'll see how it works, eh? Whilst I'm unpacking this, I've come to the realisation that I should be using another camera because this one makes me look a little bit fat. Need to get another camera. Now, just while I'm unpacking this, to give you some information on the tools and stuff that I've got. All of the Ozito tools, as far as the 18 volt stuff, I have not had a failure. Not one, not whether it be the battery, a charger, or the tools themselves. All of them are working perfectly. I actually just had a mate a couple of days ago asked me to borrow the pole pruner, which was one of the original tools that I did the review on. And he's called me up and said, don't worry about it, you can have this one back. I just picked up one for myself, so you can have this one back. So he still has that. I need to get it off him because I need to trim up the stuff as well. In the packet we've got some sort of tool here, some sort of a spanner, and it looks like an Allen key, but it's a straight one, so I'm not sure what that's for. I'm sure it's in the instructions. There's our charger, 4 amp hour battery. If they were only doing a 2 amp hour battery, I probably wouldn't have grabbed this kit because I've got a number of batteries, but I really like the large ones. I'll go with the extra weight for the extra capacity on the battery. So for a 4 amp hour battery, I'll put up what they're worth individually. I think they're probably about 50 bucks on their own, I think. So these kits are definitely the way to grab your Ozito stuff. And there's our blower. On its own, that is very, very lightweight. Now I think these come in a few different sizes. This is a smaller one, but certainly going to be sufficient for what I need. I also have one in the shed, and I'll give you a look at that, and I think that was an Ozito as well, but that was the electric one. So, and again, because it was electric, and I've got to go and hook it up and plug it in and all that sort of stuff. It just doesn't get used very often. That one though is a blower and a vac, so they're really handy for picking up your grass rather than just blowing it around. Okay, so I'm just going to pinch the battery off the reciprocating saw. From all of the tools perspective, probably my most favourite is the impact driver, because I use that for pulling wheel lugs off and all sorts of stuff, and it's got a great amount of torque. One that I use the most is the pole pruner for pruning the trees and stuff around the yard. Tool that I probably like the least is probably going to be that little compressor blower thing. I use it to blow up tyres on the trailer and stuff, and lots of little tyres like the little trolleys for the kayaks, and the little lift trolley for, you know, moving things around the house. This reciprocating saw is probably down the bottom of the list there as well. I should sit down and go through all the ones that I've got and give you a list and just revisit them. We might do that later on. It had but it had one of my 4 amp hour batteries in that, so I've just grabbed that because that's the same size as the one in the kit. Okay, it's got a little bit of a smell that comes out of it initially. That's a lot of air coming out of that. Probably not wise to do this, but if I had more hair, that's quite good. That's quite a bit more air than I actually expected. So that'll come in handy after we've used our edge trimmer. Edge trimmer looks like it comes in a few different pieces. So it's only a couple of pieces. So putting this together, it is notched, so you can't really get that wrong. There are some contacts here for the battery. There's a little arrow here and an arrow there, so you can't really get this wrong. So push it down and seat it. There we go. You'll see that'll go all the way down, and you can just slide this section here and tighten her up. And that looks to be about it. So we already have a blade on. It's just a steel blade and it's fairly thick. It'd be at least a 1.5 mil thick, I think, if I can find some specs on that. So this is the blade that does the cutting. There is a nut on it, so obviously these are replaceable. If I can find out what they're worth as a replacement, I'll let you know. Wheel on the front, large wheel on the back. It really doesn't get any easier than that. Reasonably, obviously front heavy. If I can find weights, I'll put that up on the screen there. There are 3 cutting depths. There's an adjustment here on the back wheel, similar to a lawnmower. Pull that out, move it down to the next notch, pull it out, move it down to the next notch. Obviously the lower that wheel is, the less the depth of the cut. It does say here on the guard, the blade direction, so that is going in the right direction. They haven't put it on backwards, so that's nice. It's basically just motor and blade. So obviously that tool is going to be for removing this nut. I'm not sure what the other bar is for. I'm assuming it's for locking this off. You would probably put it here or something along those lines to stop the blade from rotating whilst you undo that nut. I was just looking to see whether there's a hole there for it in particular. There doesn't seem to be, so you'd probably just put it across. They'd probably just put it across here or something along those lines. Let the blade catch on that and that would stop it from rotating. Anyway, it's the usual red affair as far as the Ozito goes. It's in the PowerXchange range. So the 18 volt battery that works on a heap of tools. And they're still, interestingly enough, like this, they're still bringing these things out, still bringing new ones to market. So this didn't used to be around when I was doing the other reviews. I've got to tell you, I'm glad it is. Having a look at the reviews on this from Bunnings, I think it was something like 40 some odd people had reviewed it, and I think it was around about 4.6 or something along those lines. So reviews were all positive. We've got some sort of a safety switch here on the top. Got to be pressed forward. Okay, so it's got a reasonable spin up time. Takes a little bit to get up to speed and a lot longer to slow down. So you want to be careful with that. You don't want to be picking this up and spinning it around as soon as you're taking your finger off the trigger, because that blade's still going to be spinning. and forgive me for this, I want to give you a quick look at the yard and show you how much it's been neglected. I'll show you some specific stuff and you'll see how much edge I've got and why I've gone and picked one of these up. It really needs doing. So you'll see there is a border that literally goes around my whole yard. So I've got a massive edge and you can see just how long it's been since these have been done. So that needs a good work. That goes all the way up there. This edge here along this pathway, that is in desperate need. And we'll give you a look at the front when we get around to that. I'm just going to give this a quick hit. We are looking at some rain that's around, so I don't know how soon that's going to get here. This is not a whippersnipper, it is an edger. Two completely different tools. Whilst you can use a whippersnipper to do your edges, you're not going to be using this like a whippersnipper and going around your poles and your clotheslines and stuff like that. You'll see we've got the cement line here. You basically want to have your wheels on the cement side and the blade on the grass side. So you want to have it like that. So if you haven't used one of these, the wheels go on the cement side and then obviously you have your blade on the grass side. Let's give this a cut and we'll show you how it looks. So things we've learnt thus far. You obviously need to know where your edge is as far as the cement goes. When I just turned it on, I was still over the cement and getting a few sparks. So those blades obviously are going to wear. But you can see that nice edge we've got there. Now I had that blade on its higher setting, so it's not cutting very deep. And you can see that's missed a few bits of grass there. Those roots are going those roots are a lot lower than the blade. So what we'll do is we'll just drop that blade and make sure we get stuff like this. So just dropped it down to the middle position there. Just going to move this to the lower setting because we've got some grass that's still hanging on there. You can see this section through here. That grass has been growing here for a long time. So this is going to be the hardest this is ever going to be pushed, obviously, because we're doing this for the first time basically. Once you've got a nice edge, if you keep up with this, then the power this is going to have, then the power that this has is going to be more than sufficient. It's just struggling because I'm really putting it on it at this point, and it's just having a little bit of a hard time cutting all that grass and just the amount that's there and how thick it is. Now you can probably see that my backyard is still a bit wet and it doesn't get a lot of sun. It's starting to get some sun now, sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And now that we're coming into summer, it'll start to get more sun. Now this is working quite well. You can see down here where we've done that edge. But again, the soil is wet and it's a little bit muddy. So with that in mind, we are getting this. So it is clogging up from just dirt and stuff getting caught in the blade. So this is something you'll have to be aware of. This is going to be exacerbated for the sheer fact that this lawn has gone untended for so long. We have just had so much rain, probably over the last 18 months, and it's still ongoing. There's floods still in Australia, not locally here at the moment, but just everything, you know, has been soaked. You know, just walking on the grass, you can still hear the water coming out of it. Depending on your circumstances, you may or may not need to be clearing the mud and the dirt out of yours as you go. And yet again, this would be making it even harder on the tool. But this is why we do these things, we push them to their limits. You can see the nice edge that we're getting along here. That's how it's cutting there. Obviously I'm going to get better, and that edge is going to get cleaner as I get more experience with this. Once this has been done, and then we go and we revisit this and we do it again and again and again, this is going to get easier and easier and easier, and that's going to look better and better. Okay, get that dirt off your face. Let's talk about the edger. Quality is typical Ozito, so if you've got any of these other tools, any of these PowerXchange tools in the shed, expect the same level of quality. It is a little bit plasticky, it is built to a price point, but 5-year replacement warranty. So if you've got any issues with this, you take it back to Bunnings and they'll swap it and they'll give you a new one. It's that easy. If you've ever taken anything back to Bunnings or JCar or those sorts of places, the warranty claim process is really simple. And that in itself is almost worth making you look at these. If it wasn't just the value for money, it's the fact that you're dealing with a reputable retailer, you're dealing with Bunnings, and if you've got any issues, you take it back and they swap you out and give you a new one. Now this motor has been pushed. I've been pushing this for probably about the last hour or so. You've seen the stuff that I was pushing it through, and that motor is mildly warm. I probably should have grabbed that just after I finished, but it's mildly warm. It's been sitting here for a little while and it's cooling down nice and quick. The wheels seem to be doing a good job. They're nothing fancy, but they seem to be doing what they need to do. Again, I'm pushing this through mud and dirt rather than just using it as it should be to cut the grass. But again, even though I'm, I guess, pushing this beyond its limits, if this failed, I could just take it back to Bunnings and say, look, that stopped working, can I have another one please? And they go, yep, no worries, go grab one. It does fill up a little bit here with dirt, but if you are using this correctly and you've got your established ground and if you've got your established lines and you're not pushing through mud like I am, this is not going to be an issue for you. You're still probably going to get some build up there, but certainly not what I'm seeing. Now you are going to run this against the cement. So this being a nice, thick, hard, solid blade is really a bonus. So that's good to see. To be honest, when I first saw it, I thought, wow, that's a little bit solid for purpose. Like I thought it was a little bit heavy duty, but now I understand. This is going to be hitting against the cement when you're cutting, or cutting through dirt, that sort of stuff. So if they'd gone with something thinner or something a bit cheaper, then you probably see that as a failure point. So this is a good thing. Guard is nice, but despite my actions today, I would suggest wearing glasses. You're going to have dust and all that sort of stuff. So safety glasses would be mandatory, and I really should have had them on today. The mechanism for adjusting height is pretty easy. 3 settings, probably more than you need really. Whilst I was working it, I would just use that rear wheel as a pivot point and then just tilt it up or down and get my desired height that way. So I basically just had it on the lowest setting and then was using that pivot on that back wheel just to get the height. Because I was pushing through some really dense grass and it was going through the mud and all that sort of stuff, if I pushed it down to its full depth and tried to get it to cut, it was just bogging down and it was just stopping. So what I needed to do was pull it back, lift it up a little bit and let it just cut through that top section of grass and then lower it down little bit by little bit. One feature that I thought it had when I looked at it on the box and was looking at it on the website, I thought this connection here was an extendable pole, so you could adjust the height. That's not the case. The handle itself though is adjustable, and it's just got that little lever there and you can adjust it up or down. It adjusts in this orientation as well, and then when you put that lever down, that locks that movement in place and then locks it onto the bar as well. So, but this is the only adjustment that you have as far as fitment to yourself, depending on height and all that sort of stuff. I didn't particularly notice the weight in one way or the other, because this, for the most part, is resting on these wheels, so you're not managing the weight of the tool unless you need to lift it up to move it, or obviously get it to where you need to go to do the job. But I would say this is somewhere, I'm going to say somewhere between 4 and 5 kilos, I'm not sure. Keep in mind that we've got the 4 amp hour battery, which is one of the larger ones, and I'll put the weight of that up on the screen on its own, and I'll give you an idea of the weight on the skin there as well. The handle mechanism is comfortable, a little bit rubberized on the top, but again, the Ozito stuff in the Power Xchange tends to be predominantly plastic. Ultimately, it's a pretty straightforward tool, so it's possible that I haven't shown this in its strongest light because of what I've asked of it today. Just use this for maintenance and upkeep on those lines and on those edges, and I think you'll be more than happy with it. If you come out every 6 months or every 12 months like I've done today and expect this to do the job, you're going to be disappointed, and it's not fair on the tool. Ask of it what it's made for, and I think you'll be more than happy with it. I know I've had lots of feedback from people on my other reviews because I always say these things are great for older people who don't necessarily have the strength to use the petrol variants. Now, this is not the lightest tool, but it's certainly considerably lighter than you're going to have for a petrol whippersnipper or a petrol edger or something along those lines. You might also look at the electric variations of these, regardless of brand, because they will probably be even lighter weight because you're not carting around the battery. You could put a 2 amp hour battery on this if you've got a smaller yard and you're just running around and you've already got your edges done and you're using this to trim them and keep it tidy, then you could probably get away with a little 2 amp hour battery or something along those lines. But the kit comes with the 4. We're done for the day. I must have reached that age because I've never been a blower before. I've got the blower slash vacuum in the shed, and that rarely comes out, probably because it's a corded one, I've got to run a cable and all that sort of stuff. But I've just, other than, the only time I've ever pulled that out is when I've done the backyard and then that section in front of the garage, which I like to keep a little bit clean. But as far as if I've mowed out the front or done edging or something out the front, I wouldn't then get out and go and get the blower and blow it all away. I'm happy just to let it all sit there and let nature take its course and get blown away. There's a simple satisfaction just then of doing that little bit of edging and then going through with the blower and just giving it a bit of a tidy up. I mean, I've only blown everything out on the street and that's going to do its own thing. And on a few occasions I was going against the wind, so I'm blowing at the wind, blowing it back, and it was a little bit of a fight there. I'm happy to report that I won. So as far as the blower goes, really lightweight. Again, 4 amp hour battery on that. It is reasonably noisy, but not so much so that you would be upsetting your neighbours. I mean, I've got old mate over here mowing his lawns and stuff, and I can hear him. But I'd hazard a guess that he wouldn't hear this, and certainly wouldn't hear that edger over what he's doing up there, but I could hear him over what I was doing here. You get the point. They're nice and quiet, your 18 volt stuff. Your battery powered stuff or even your electric stuff is so much more quiet than your petrol stuff. As far as the blower goes, nice lightweight. If I can find it, I'll put it up on the screen there. For people with smaller yards, people who aren't as strong as they used to be, then your little 18 volt stuff like this is just absolutely perfect. That edger I think is going to come into its own once I get all those lines and edges established, and then I'm just grabbing it out of the shed and just whipping it around. So I'm still happy. I don't want you to think that I'm not happy with that. I am. I just know that I asked a little bit too much of it today, and that wasn't really what it's made to do. Righto, Bunnings, Ozito, you got me again. So it's nice to be back playing with the Ozito stuff again, and getting out and enjoying the backyard. Summer's here, and I've got a lot of work to do in this yard. Thanks very much for stopping by. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.